Hey guys, this is Snake in the editing room later after the podcast. I realized my keyboard was making a lot of noise during the podcast. I'll make sure to try and get rid of that next time, so hopefully it doesn't bother anyone. Anyways, thank you and enjoy.
Hey guys, we're back with another episode, and right now we're playing. What's this game, Snake?
This is Speed Race by Master Daniel.
Yeah, and you really like this game.
I know I used to have this game on my favorites until I started dedicating my favorites to being my games tab because Roblox doesn't have one.
Ah,
I don't know if you do that. Do you do that?
I didn't know that. I didn't know that at all.
If you look at my favorites, they're all my own games, and it makes me kind of look like, maybe arrogant or something, but it's really just so that I have quick access to click on all my games if I need to, because there's no other way to do that.
I only have 2 games.
Oh, well,
So it's not too big of a problem.
One day you'll understand the pain.
One day. All right, so this episode we wanted to make it kind of more of a Q&A, like not really so much a Q&A as like answering like some of the questions on Twitter, and like maybe getting some conversations going from there. And then you actually mentioned that there was one YouTube comment that you wanted.
Yeah, the one YouTube comment is I wish I didn't I like closed it, so I don't know who posted it. I'd love to say who said it, but I don't know. But it was why don't you guys localize your games? And for me, I do using Roblox's automatic translation features and whatever other stuff they do. So I do. So that question really isn't for me.
Do you only localize in Spanish? Maybe they
for a lot of my games I did do Spanish, but for all my current games, except for the Streets, which doesn't have any text, so I don't do that. But I've turned automatic translation on for I think everything else. So if I'm wrong, I guess the guy in the comments can correct me, and I'll translate into whatever language he needs me to, if it's available on Roblox.
For me, I just hadn't thought about it. Like for Rogue, that game wasn't supposed to be front page, but for Deep Woken, I mean, that'd definitely be something I should consider because it's cool when you can like make your game more accessible to people.
You should take a look at the monthly game stats Excel page that you can download.
Oh yeah,
that tells you which countries your games are most popular in. You should take a look at what rogues are, because it's kind of be a similar base of players, right? For Deep Woken, so you can kind of get an idea of what countries are most popular with your games. It'll say or maybe it says regions. It says one of the two. But then you'll know if it's important to do it in Spanish or Portuguese or French or I don't know any other languages. Yeah.
I was just focusing on getting to the end there.
So you should take a look at that so you can make sure you have that ready. I got to do that
definitely.
Too. But I'm telling you, Roblox
I don't even know where Rogue is most popular. Huh.
Well, I'm going to guess United States and United Kingdom. I don't know how many. Final Stand's like second most is Brazilians. I think everyone knows that. But I'm not sure if that's the same with Rogue or not. You'd have to check. Okay.
I'll have to check.
Second point on Twitter is opinions. This is 3 questions. Maybe I'll read who it's from. Free Miner on Twitter.
Okay.
Opinions on copied games, closed community done correctly, and games that we personally take inspiration from.
All right, let's start with copied games. So that's an interesting one, right? Because it's like, what is a copied game?
That's
is
a good question.
Game just like ripped concepts, or is it like what exactly? Is it a 1-to-1?
Let's say for
if you change something, is it a copy?
Let's say for the interest of the question, heavily incredibly inspired games to the point where people will refer to it as a X copy, like an NO2 copy, a Rogue copy, etc. Because then those are usually changed. Well, actually, it's different because, sometimes it changes genre, like it could be or a different setting, or sometimes it's, I don't know. There's a lot of them.
I mean, okay. Here, I'm not gonna race. I want to think about this a little.
If you want to think, I can talk about mine.
Go ahead.
Because the only things that have ever been copied from me, mine's always been like NO2 had a bunch of copies, which weren't really copies. It's just people recreating the systems in it. And sometimes I disliked them, and sometimes I didn't mind them. Because if they changed enough, then it was like, all right. But also, it also depends on time. When it's like when it's finally like recently there was more NO2 copies coming up again, and it's like, come on, it's years later
It's
now,
years
guys.
past. Like,
There's
make
already
something
been
new.
8 copies. Stop making copies. So mainly when they're new, it's like not a big deal to me, I guess. But when people keep
I
on
don't
doing it,
actually.
yours is
I
different
don't
though.
mind people taking like the concept and like working with it and like trying to change it and doing something cool. I always think like to make interesting games, I don't think you have to like reinvent the wheel and make like a whole new concept. I think you can like just change a couple key ideas and you can end up with something like even more interesting than the original product,
Mm-hmm.
right? Uh, and that's what I want to see with like anyone who like decides to make rogue style games is just like to innovate on small concepts. I see a lot of games now. They'll take like lives and like put that in their game randomly. Like
Mm-hmm.
they'll just put it in game because they'll be like, oh, they were in Rogue. It makes sense. And like for one, I don't even think lives are like the best way to do permadeath at this point. Like I think I found a better way in Deep Woken.
Uh-huh.
And two, I think when games just like slap in permadeath, they end up making their game worse. Like if your game has a really long progression loop, it does not need permadeath.
Right.
Like if your game takes a million years to get to the end game and you add permadeath,
It's a
people are
bad
just
move.
going to quit your game
Yeah, it's a bad move.
as soon as they like die. But if your game like has like a really quick way to like progress, then it's okay because then it's like, oh, okay, I'll do something, and that's where like the strength of permadeath is, right? Is
Mm-hmm.
that every time you play the game, it's a little different. Like you do something different, and that's how like I think permadeath games should be designed, and like that's what I want to see like people on Roblox doing when they make
Mm-hmm.
it at least. Because that's my favorite part is like replaying the game with like new shit.
I guess when I think about it, now that I'm thinking about it a little bit more, the only part that really irks me about copies is like my own disappointment that they didn't do anything more interesting with it. If I think about it, it's like when people
Oh
were
yeah,
making OPO copies back in the day. It's like we already had OPO, man. Just make something new. You can, and I think that game
exactly.
was stolen. Like the same thing with OPR when I opened it up. Take the
Mm-hmm.
OPR scripts and do something new with them. Put a new setting, do something. Don't
Yeah,
just
but then you
release the
saw
game
people
again.
just
Yeah, people just
re-upload the game.
re-upload OPR. It's like, come on, dude. Well, I guess that leads
I
into the next
just
part because the people that would re-upload them would make them closed community, which I guess is kind of makes
okay.
sense because then they get rid
Closed
of people.
community that has turned like so originally closed community like with you started out because you had Final Stand and you didn't want people playing NO2, right?
That's right. I guess I did NO2's closed community because Final Stand was really popular at the time, and I knew that if I didn't make a closed community, a bunch of like random people would join the game. And
And
the game,
ruin
the game systems, yeah, and kind of because the game systems weren't really built around a bunch of low-level random people leaving and joining, kind of thing.
it. Oh,
And
I fell.
then it turned into like keeping out exploiters and stuff like that too, and managing the community better as well. And that's like the modern idea of closed community.
I think like keeping out exploiters and stuff is pretty like solid reasoning, but also it's like if you're a new developer, I don't feel like I'd recommend closed community. I feel like you should just like if you have like a couple friends who like play your games and stuff, or not even a couple friends. It's just like I feel like public games are the ways to at least get recognized. If you have maybe it's the opposite now though.
I
Maybe
think
like
I
when
disagree.
people
I
see
think
closed community, they go, oh wow, that must be an interesting game because it's closed, and
yeah,
then
it
people want to
gives.
get in.
I don't know how many closed community games that aren't made by us that you've been into, but like or have seen, but people like hype them up, and then they turn out to be
Oh
not
really?
so great. So maybe it actually is the strategy nowadays if you're a new developer and you have a couple friends to tell your friends you're making this and have them tell their friends and get everyone hyped up about it.
Hmm.
As long as it is the kind of
And
game that works with closed community. That's one of your points is you don't like when games that aren't closed community or don't
or
work or
that
need to use it for no reason.
yeah, I feel like some games like will have systems that just like completely work for open access or paid access or anything like that, and then they decide, oh, I want to make a closed community. I'm just like, man, why? Like, I feel like it's just I don't know. Maybe for some people it might be a hype strat.
Oh, it's definitely
But
a
on
hype
the other
strat.
hand, like I definitely see if you're doing systems that don't work in large groups or exploiters, right?
Right. Those are like the
Um,
advantages that should be played out. You know?
But I see something from players, and I even saw this like from Rogue and like Wave 0 and Wave 1 and stuff. Is like players like don't like it, or like players who've been in the waves or whatever, like say, "Oh, keep it close community." Like,
Yeah, they don't want to.
just add new waves. And then my response to that was like, if you're gonna just let in wave after wave after wave constantly, and like keep it close community forever, but you're constantly gonna let new people in, like, what's the point of close community?
There's no point at that point. You know, I was gonna
then you're just artificially like restricting the flow.
What I was gonna do for you know, BU or whatever the next community game was gonna be is I discovered that the solution was, oh, this was back when Builders Club existed instead of Premium. Builders Club only groups, and then you can do that as group access. And then it's like, well, you keep out exploiters because not that many people that exploit, if they use an alt to exploit, they're not going to put Builders Club on their shit. You know, they might add Robux, you know, send Robux to their alts, but they're not going to put their credit card on their alt, you know? And
I mean,
then
can't
Roblox
you just buy it for the one time? Can't you just buy it one time too?
I don't know. I don't know how it works nowadays. But before it had to be a subscription. So it was kind of like, I think maybe you can buy a Builders Club card. I don't know how it works anymore. But either way, Roblox got rid of that. When they introduced Premium, they got rid of Premium only groups. So it was like, okay, great, never mind that. What was the third part of this question? Oh, well, this one's like not even related to those two topics, but games that we personally take inspiration from.
Recently I've been playing Hades, and I talked about that on Twitter. But I've also been playing Dishonored 2, and I haven't really talked about it because I actually have been kind of disappointed with it. Because I played the original Dishonored, and I really liked that game.
Yeah.
And Dishonored 2, just, nah. It was okay. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. I had some times where I'd just be in the middle of, like, playing, where I'd just, like... I feel like if I, like, pause a game in the middle, and I'm willing to, like, stop playing right there, like, that's a sign that the game doesn't interest me all that much.
Yeah, that happens when you play a game. Sometimes you just like don't even finish it. That's happened to me a couple times. Oh, what games do I take inspiration from? We're gonna put out the basics. Me and Rag both take inspiration from Dark Souls. Jeez, for like a lot of stuff, I'm sure.
For sure.
And Dark Souls 2 and 3, and mostly 2. But
man, 2 gets so much hate. Man.
2 gets a lot of hate.
Two
but real designers know it was a better game. From gameplay standpoint. Not for
in terms of the Souls game,
yeah,
I would say it was like weaker.
But if you're talking about like pure taking that Souls formula and making it fun for like gameplay, 2 did a great job. But it didn't have like as good a theming or immersion as the other games.
World.
Lore. Yeah. Still a good game though.
But I think that's what people look for in a Dark Souls game, and that's why it definitely disappointed people. Like 1's map design was phenomenal.
Right. I mean, we're gonna see what happens when what's the next one coming out? What's it called?
Elden Ring.
Elden Ring. Oh yeah, I'm so excited for that.
Yeah, me too.
It's supposed to be
I thought it was coming out this year.
Yeah, that's whatever. I'll still be excited for it. How did you beat this map already? What the heck? All right, whatever. Doesn't matter. And then also, let's see, what other games I take a lot of inspiration from. Well, I mean, I don't make that many different games anymore, but you know, Metroidvania is like the original. Well, like Super Metroid and Metroid Zero Mission. And then I just played M2R, which was actually really good.
I feel like devs could really take some inspiration from like Metroidvanias.
Well, we gotta tell them the truth, Rick. If you're an indie dev and you don't play Metroidvanias, you might as well quit.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Metroidvanias are the indie genre, and they've been the backbone of it for a long time.
I don't know about that.
No, they have. Look it up. You can like people always talk about
Really?
that. They're like, you know, Metroidvanias. So many popular indie games are Metroidvanias, is because, and they're like love letters to the genre, like Hollow Knight. You know, Hollow Knight's one of the best indie games ever. Metroidvania. I don't know. That's what people say. I'm not. It's not my opinion, but that is what people. I've heard a lot of people say that Metroidvanias are the backbone of indie games. I'm a big Shantae
that's fair.
guy.
I mean, they're great games, but something I feel like devs could really take inspiration from is the way, even if you're making RPGs and open world games, is like gating things behind keys. There's a really good video by Boss Keys on it. Or I don't think that's the name of his channel, but that's the series.
It's the name of the series, Boss Keys by. Is it Game Maker's Toolkit?
It's Game Maker's Toolkit.
Yeah, Game Maker's Toolkit, Boss Keys.
But it's basically like gating gating the world behind like certain progression, and like that's a simple thing, right? It's just like, oh, that might be obvious to like players, but like
Mhm.
sometimes things that are obvious to players, like while you're playing, aren't so obvious to designers or like new designers when they're designing.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of, is there like some secret game that like I really take inspiration from and I don't even
Oh
realize
shit.
it? Probably a bunch of like random. Oh, you know what? I don't take inspiration from it in any of my games that you can see, but like in my own mind, like the Mario and Luigi titles, not like Super Mario, but like Mario and Luigi are the RPGs that were on like handheld systems, like Superstar Saga and
I
Bowser's Inside
was
Story.
I was
Oh
about
man,
to. Actually, that makes me want to mention something. It's things you take inspiration from that you don't like. Your
directly
games
use
may
stuff
not
from.
show it, but you take inspiration from the feeling that
Yeah,
that
it's
game gave
feelings.
you.
You're trying to recreate feelings that you've had in certain games. Yeah, totally.
And here, I'll get back on that, but
Okay.
this is a sidetrack or like a side note. Um, I feel like that's what developers are missing when they like make copies and stuff. Is like they want to remake that game because of the feeling it gave them. But what you should
Oh,
be doing is making a new game that recreates the feeling
that's a really good point.
instead of just remaking the game outright. Because you won't ever get that same feeling again from that first time you played a game. It's just it won't happen.
Oh man,
You have to create something new that evokes that like feeling.
this isn't a question, but let's mode it as a question because you just said that. What's a game for both of us that we would like to replay to get the same feeling again? You know what I mean? What's a game that you would love to replay, like for the first time?
Roblox or
No, no, any game,
any
especially
game
any
for the
game. It can be Roblox, it can be
hmm.
just
Man,
see what
I
your
feel
first
like this is
experience was.
kind of basic, but like for First Instinct says Dark Souls 1. Dark Souls 1 for sure.
I gotta think about this. I think I'm gonna do
Oh.
I think I'm gonna do Metroid Zero Mission. Actually,
Zero Mission?
yeah,
Hmm.
I think I'm gonna do Zero Mission because that game, like, I didn't play any Metroidvanias before that game, and that game just changed me. That game really changed me. I replayed that game so many times, and just like discovering stuff for the first time in that game. I mean, that wouldn't even be replaying for the first time. That'd be like replaying the first like four times for me.
Hmm.
Finding secrets or like skipping bosses. Oh man, Metroid Zero Mission, really, really good game. That's what I would pick. I
My
probably, if
first
I thought about
playthrough
it
of Dark
longer, I
Souls,
could.
man.
Yeah, Dark Souls is a very close second for me. I'd say just because like that's the same idea. There's so much stuff in that game that I just never saw before. You know, no, I've never seen a
I,
game do something kind of like that. You know.
I mean, some of my most memorable are definitely like some of your games, like Roblox games. But I'm trying to think of like one in particular that, man, this is another basic one, but I feel like OPO. I don't know. That might be nostalgia talking.
It
Hmm.
probably is. OPO. It was interesting.
Yeah.
Here, let me go to Twitter. Let's find
Honestly, beginning of BU is definitely up there.
Oh yeah. Okay, I'm trying to find a good tweet here.
Oh,
Here, I'm
I
gonna.
was I trailed off to something. I like said side note, and then like we went off on like a tangent.
You're talking about
What was I?
the
What was I talking
feeling,
about? I
getting
was
the
talking
feeling of
about.
games, and that's how closed communities try to recreate that feeling. You're talking about how you like games that
But I
you
feel
don't
like
take.
that was the side note, wasn't it?
Yeah, the
Or
side note was that the main point was that games that you play and take inspiration from without
oh
directly recreating them.
yeah. So you said yours is like the Mario RPGs basically, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like the feeling they give you. For me, like I talked about on Twitter was like Melee, and like it's kind of weird because like Deep Woken isn't like Melee, but like it sounds weird, but like in my head, it makes it when I'm playing it and I'm playing it to the highest level, it makes me feel like not that I'm playing Melee, but like okay, so like Melee's community revolves around like really awesome skill expression and like doing really cool stuff. Like just because you're like good at the game and you can pull off stuff that other people can't.
Mm,
And like that same kind of like mechanics mastery that lets you pull off cool shit, like is there in Deep Woken. And like that's what makes me so happy with like the game's combat and stuff.
mm.
And so that's why I like for anyone who's wondering why I bring up like Melee on my Twitter and stuff because I just think it's like such a cool game. Like it is just such a cool game.
Hmm. Okay, so let's see. This one's a pretty. This is a hot topic in game development, I think, and everyone
Hmm.
always has an opinion about it. This is from Nilonium. He says a discussion about game visuals, such as builds or game effects, and how they're important. Uh, like basically graphics and stuff like that.
Wait,
Also,
okay.
you know what I mean?
What's the question? How important
It's
is
not
like
as
effects and
I'm trying to like
builds?
reword it, but basically, yeah, like a discussion about I guess maybe we can rephrase it as how important, but like a discussion about game visuals, such as like the builds in the games and the games like effects, like particle effects, special effects, lighting. How important are there's two things here, like there's graphics and there's also style.
I'd say we'll delve into like the difference between graphics and style, but I'd say like all of those things are important, but at the end of the day, gameplay over graphics. Like gameplay should always come first
Yeah,
for developers.
yeah, but
Because go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say effects and build. Oh man, I'm really messing up this
Effects and
track.
building.
Yeah, those are bonus. No, I'm saying I was in the middle of a sentence. Those are like the cherry on top.
For sure.
Yeah.
But I think as game development on Roblox at least, because like think back in the day, or maybe even like 2 years ago,
Hmm.
like no one would have batted an eye looking at this game,
Yeah.
and like obviously like this game isn't like very visually impressive, but it's fun, right?
Right.
Like it's a fun concept and simple visuals. I think people are starting to care more about visuals nowadays.
I mean, Roblox is pushing
And
things for that, so
yeah.
meshes and
And I like making things look nice. Like it feels good as a dev when you can like have both.
yeah.
But I definitely think gameplay wins out. I mean, it should. We're making like things to be fun, not to just be visually appealing. I think some games tend to like focus too much on visuals and they like ignore the gameplay.
Sometimes, especially with special effects, they're
Mm-hmm.
way overboard. Like you don't want
But
these
some of those
amazing.
effects are crazy,
I know
man.
some of the
Like
effects are crazy
I'm
good,
like,
but
wow.
sometimes the animations and like for a sword swing, maybe the sword swing animation so like motion capped, hyper detailed, the big slash effect and like explosion, and then the thing does like 5 damage. It's like you're misplacing. Like you're putting these in the wrong spot. You don't want, if everything looks way too good, then nothing's gonna feel good at all. You gotta pick and choose if you think about it. You gotta pick and
Mm.
choose what you want to make good. If you have the time to make things look good, you can't make everything look amazing.
I think
Or
that's another thing when you start like making every effect super high detail, every animation's like motion capture, like you said.
mhm.
I think you end up creating just this gigantic workload for yourself.
That's true. That really pushes stuff back too. And then also, I think not a lot of Roblox games have done in terms of building. We haven't seen any super hyper stylized games, unless you can think of any.
Hmm.
But I think people should definitely try pushing towards them. Like
So
sticking to certain color themes or lighting options, just and always.
I think we both know a game that is style, like does have a style, and Tales, like Tales from the
Oh
Valley,
yeah,
like
yeah, that was
that
pretty
that
stylized.
is
That was like
that's an art style.
that
It's
was
one
old Roblox
stud,
style though. One
smooth
stud.
plastic,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's cool. But I don't think we've seen any styles that are like any higher detail
Actually,
that
do you
like
remember
adhere to
that?
one style. Well,
Do you remember that old Team Rudimentality game where it was like all neon outlines? It was
no,
like a shooter
I
game.
didn't see it.
Okay, well I don't remember what it's called, but it was super hyper stylized. I'm talking about like really sticking to like a really small theme like black and white. Remember that black and white game we were making?
Oh
That's what I
yeah,
mean. That's like I'm
yeah.
talking hyper stylized like that. And the thing is, if you hyper stylize making your entire game black and white only for certain options being colors, or like sticking to super high contrast or a lot of dark, it's really restrictive. So I feel like a lot of devs are scared to do that. But being
Hmm.
inside that box kind of forces you to make things more interesting.
Yeah, because you when you like put rules on yourself, you end up like being more creative
Yeah, you
to
find
like
interesting
make
ways to get away
interesting
with
things
those
in the
rules.
confines of the rules.
Exactly. But we haven't seen that really. There's not a lot of stuff on Roblox that's super hyper stylized yet, and I'd love to see more
Yeah.
in the future.
Hmm.
Let's see here. Hmm.
I'd say whenever we make games, they have a style, but they're
Yeah,
not like
I try to make
hyper
my stuff look
stylized.
good, and I try to stick to a style, but I don't hyper stylize. I'd love to, but I'm scared of doing it too.
Oh, I'm actually a big stickler about that. At least when I'm personally working on something, is that my effects match a certain art style.
Hmm.
Uh, like Deep Woken's world is kind of like dark and foreboding and stuff, but a lot of the effects I work on for it are like super bright. Like that's how they're meant to be. Is that they're supposed to be super bright.
Hmm.
Um, So I actually run into that problem sometimes when I'm like working with other devs on my projects. Is that if they don't know, if they like if I have a dev make a move or something, and then like their effects is like, see, I do like a lot of particle based stuff. If theirs is a lot of parts, and then they go for like a part style, and it's not like neon, so it's not like very bright.
Yeah.
Then there ends up being like a clash of styles, and you can tell who made what. And I don't like that.
Hmm.
So I usually, yeah, I'm kind of a stickler about those things.
Trying to find another question here. I'm like, how do you,
But I one sec,
go ahead.
and I think like if you are working on a game or you are the head of a project, I think your game doesn't always have to like look amazing. Like you don't have to have like GPO levels of effects, right? But if you have consistency in your style and like the effects you make, it'll usually just look better because everything fits. When you have like one thing that looks amazing and one thing that looks like just like mid tier or maybe
Mhm.
even garbage, then that mid tier or garbage thing sticks out so much worse.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to have consistent art design is really what that is. Consistent art design, right? Something like that. That everything matches. All right.
Yep.
This one, I mean, I think this is a good question, and we can substitute kind of a word in it. Wakeless Cafe says, give your guys' opinions on My Hero Academia games and tell us a way to make them fun instead of just farming NPCs. But really, we can substitute My Hero Academia for like any kind of
Any
grinding
kind of generic
anime
grind
thing.
anime game.
Doesn't even have to be anime.
Oh man.
Anything generic. There's too many games where you get a special power and you grind NPCs. How to make that? How to make those kind of games, but not make them grinding NPCs.
Man, I don't want to get like too into that because I feel like remember we had the talk in the DMs about like solving that effectively, like
Did
just
we?
having. Well, remember we talked about like how to solve like NPC grinds
Oh
or like
yeah, we
how to
did.
make them more interesting.
Oh yeah.
Man, I don't want to like spoil
Don't
that
give
because
away.
I
Don't
feel
give
like
away
we'll give it
secrets.
away.
You're right. Well,
Yeah, that's tough.
maybe I can answer and think of something. Um, here's an easy one. Here's an easy answer to that question. Doesn't spoil anything, and basically make the NPCs that you're farming, like actually good. If you think about that, not just standing. I mean, I in Final Stand the NPCs were supposed to be
That's a
really
nice
good,
solution as
and they
well.
got like abused. Like Final Stand NPCs aren't good anymore, but they used to. When I was working on them, they were supposed to be really good at fighting back, right? But
Mhm.
NPCs that are hard to fight back, and have you swap them out with all different kinds. I mean, like go play any other like real game, and any enemy you run into is gonna have a different. Well, as long as it's not a bad game, right?
Oh,
It's gonna
this
have
is
different
a
effects.
this doesn't spoil anything either, but this is just like good NPC design. Design different enemy types.
That's what I'm saying. Not too many
Like,
people do the same thing. Like
well, they have like a melee NPC who
and
just
a
like
ranged
attacks you, but
NPC.
like, and I think it's fine to have that melee and that ranged NPC, right? As long as they're like working in conjunction with each other to creating cool encounters. So
Yeah,
if you have like a what?
you
I was
lose.
ahead of you on my screen.
Yeah.
Oh, you beat me by point one. Okay. Anyways, I feel like when you have a ranged NPC like up on a tower or something, like
Hmm.
sniping down at you while like two melee NPCs are fighting you, like obviously that's not groundbreaking or anything, but it's a step forward for Roblox devs like making RPGs because you don't
Yeah,
see a lot of that. You just see like people place some enemies on you
it's because
see people place some enemies and you hit them and
it's
that's
kind
it.
of hard to think of new stuff. But yeah, if you can push enemy design to be more unique per enemy, more different enemy types, more difficult enemies, and I think as a final point to that, try to make it so that there's a reason for players to not constantly grind the easy ones. You know, because if people are gonna to stop, you know, making grinding games fun is to make people enjoy the grind by pushing themselves and having difficulty and having thrill to it, not just mindlessly
Mhm.
killing something they know they can kill. So finding ways to stop them killing the easy ones, right? I mean, I don't have
Right.
any good opinions on that, but I think that would solve the issue of a grinding game. Is it wouldn't even really feel like an NPC grinder at that point. It'd feel like a good game.
Yeah.
Now, let's see. I'm struggling to find these questions, even though when I was reading them at like 3 a.m., I thought, man, these are all amazing. But it's more people have commented since I checked. So, oh, what's this? Oh, here's a good one. Ragusa. Maybe discuss your views on developer-only items in games by Ace Incentive, and then also this also applies to use how permanent death systems can change the feel / lifespan of a game.
Wait, so they're basically asking, how do I feel about dev specs?
Yeah, how do you feel about dev specs?
The lifetime of a game?
No. How do you feel about? It's two questions. How do you feel about specs in general? Not even. I mean, it doesn't even have to be dev specs. And how do you feel about permanent death systems affecting the lifespan of a game? Which you kind of already answered earlier, but
okay. For specs, I actually like specs where the devs give them to like players in the community. I think that's cool. Like community member does something like awesome, and I don't know, like they get recognized for it. I think that's cool. But dev specs, I don't know. I have dev specs in my own game, but you also don't see me playing it very much. So I don't like. I don't know. I don't like. I don't like when developers like kill other players
using their specs
and like ruin their progression using their specs. And like I don't see why a developer would want to. I like obviously in Rogue there were some devs that killed people and they would take their progression and stuff. And it's like really lame because it's like, dude, don't. What are you doing?
Yeah. And then how does permanent?
Like I don't know. I don't get a lot of enjoyment from like just pissing off a player for like no reason. I mean, if there's some kind of like cool interaction where they have like a boss fight with a dev and it's like, you know, they had a chance to win something, and you know, if they had something to gain, then it might be okay. But if they have nothing to gain, then it kind of just sucks.
I think specs.
Some guys bullying them.
Dev specs, specifically developer specs, can actually be used interestingly like that, like you said, with boss fights or some kind of unique interaction. I've known some games in the past. I've never played this game, but apparently there used to be the Matrix Online. It was like an MMORPG, right? And it was by the whole studio that made the Matrix. And the developers for that game, when they like played the game, they were like the main characters from the movies when they spawned in. And I don't know what they did, but I knew they did something like they could give you special items or something. But I don't really know. But I know that's cool.
See, that's cool. Dude, I feel like if you have dev specs and it like fits into the world, like
I think it's cool if you
Rogue,
can buff people with your specs.
Well, yeah,
like
Art could take people's injuries. That was his whole thing. I thought that was cool.
I've always wanted to make a game where the developers were like the gods of the world, and you would. This sounds awful saying it out loud, but it sounds cool in gameplay. Where you pray to them with like an in-game system where you like send them messages and stuff, and then they log on, they can see who prayed to him, and then they can like buff them. They'll be like, "Oh, this guy, he said he really liked my
something
outfit.
Some update I made."
No.
Or like, honestly, like a way to like talk to devs.
That, and also like I meant like more like lore committal. Like they really committed to like praying to like this fake god I did as part of their role play, and so I'm gonna give them like, you know, a blessing, and then like, you know, gives them like a temporary buff. I don't know. I thought that kind of idea.
I think that's interesting, but also you have like the whole developer god complex thing.
Well, I mean, it's not like you have the powers of God to like. Well, I mean, I guess maybe you could smite people that like like diss your statue or whatever. I don't know, something like that.
I
always thought your
updates suck.
No, it's not related to like the actual dev part. It's only devs because it's like trustable. Okay. It's more like, you know, the role play aspect rather than the feedback aspect. Did we both not finish that? Oh, I finished it.
I finished. Dude, I could imagine like, man, I can imagine like Par, like, I don't know, just pissing some player off.
No, it's not. It's not meant for. It had to be like really responsible developers or something like that.
Okay.
Um. Anyway, oh, the second half of that question is how does perma? You already kind of answered this, but how does permadeath affect the lifespan of a game? Which I'll let you answer that because you've actually had a game with
Oh,
permadeath
yeah. I think it actually extends it like by a lot.
if it's done correctly. You gotta
If done
specify that.
correctly, it can extend it by a lot. Yeah, the thing is with permadeath is, you have a game that's if you design it correctly, it's a game that's made to be replayable. So you don't actually need a ton of content to have like a fun permadeath game. If you have a simple loop that's really fun to replay, you'll have a good game. But if you don't have enough variety, oh, where am I going? If you don't have enough variety in the content and stuff like that,
Hmm.
or like every time you like if you replay the game and it's like the same over and over, then it's not going to be a fun roguelike game. It's going to be really boring.
Right.
Why am I like stuck on this?
Are we on a match? I was looking at comments again. Whoops. Oh, whatever. Okay, here we go. We got I like this one. This is by at Xeno Arts, and they said the difficulty of becoming a full-time developer on the platform, whether it be part of a team or as a solo dev, which is I wish I could answer that more, but because I've been deving for since I was like a kid, since I was like 12 years old, I kind of just grew into being a dev already.
Yeah.
And was already established by the time I was old enough to like be an actual like full-time dev. But you started only a couple years ago, and so you have
I
more
mean, like
experience with that.
obviously.
Dealing
So
with
wait.
school
What's
or
the full
like
question?
the difficulty of becoming a full-time developer on the platform.
Oh, okay, okay. Um, huh.
I mean,
So yeah, I mean, like I grew up like I've probably been like working like on games since I was like 15,
mhm.
but I couldn't really script until like 2 years ago. So I wasn't able to like put any of my games into into like actually make them work and like start working on them full time. Uh, as for full time, I initially was going to school and stuff, and I didn't really consider full time an option until like I had some kind of success. So what I would say for like anybody who can like afford to work on Roblox games in their spare time and stuff is just like keep it as a spare time thing until you got something good going, and then consider your options whether that should be your full time job. That don't just I would say don't jump off on the random chance that your game is successful.
That's
Like just like jump straight at it. Be responsible. But definitely, if you think you have the talent to like be a full time dev, definitely put like your spare time and all of that into it, and like work hard at it. Don't just assume that one day, oh, I'll be successful. If you don't put in the work, you won't be.
I can when I mean I didn't become really full-time. I was in college when Final
Yeah.
Stand took off, and but at that time I was so stressed out in college because I lived in an apartment at that time on my campus basically, and I'd have like all I was like behind by like maybe a semester or something, so I was taking like 18 credit hours, which maybe someone's going to say is not a lot, but that's a lot of credit hours for a semester. And I was taking that, and then Final Stand was doing well at the same time, and I was up all night working on Final Stand, and I'd fall asleep, and I'd wake up and it'd be like I'd miss my class, and I'd be like oh my gosh, I just missed class, and that's a big deal in college. People might tell you that it's not, but like missing class sometimes
Yep.
it's bad sometimes. And then and there was even this one class that I missed like 2 weeks of, and then I showed up. I guess this is my origin story at this point. I showed up to this class that was like it was like biology or something, and it was 2 weeks in, and I hadn't been to a single class. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna change. I'm gonna start going to class. Let's see what I missed. Let's go. And I went to class, and I went to the lecture, and I couldn't understand a single thing, and that's when I gave up.
And that's when I gave
But
up.
but this was at the time when Final
Oh
Stand
man.
was taking off already. This wasn't when I was already working on it. But this was after release. So I knew I
Mhm.
had that backup plan, and I made the decision that I'm just going to do this full time now. And so actually, if anything, mine was poor time management skills, and I got forced into being a full-time dev than anything else.
I think if you have a successful game, taking some time off from college to keep pursuing that is
I think it's a great
in
idea.
my opinion.
But if you can do both,
because you can always go back, like that's an option.
Yeah, you can go back, and it's
and if you're making like enough money, you should be able to like pay off. Like if you're making like really good money, you should be able to pay off your college. And
yeah,
stuff
if you get lucky,
going back.
If you have a successful game that takes off, and you can, like what I did, I tried to continue to do college. When I was telling this story, this was like the first week of a new semester, or I said I missed 2 weeks, so first 2 weeks of a new semester, and I tried to keep doing it while being a full-time dev, but it didn't work out. But while I was, it was still pretty bad when I was trying to work on the game too. But I think it was the summer, so I had a lot of time to actually make the game at that point.
I finished up my last semester during the time the Rogue took off, and then I decided I'll go back at some other point. I want to see.
Yeah, you did a better move than me. You didn't decide to not take off the semester before the semester started. I waited to the semester.
It was a timing thing, dude. It was like Rogue got popular at the end of my semester, so it just like it worked out.
Yeah. And then also this guy, the question asker also says, whether you're counting or whether as a solo dev or part of a team, that's a lot more difficult of a question. If you're not the lead designer of your game, becoming a full-time developer, like as a part of someone else's team, that seems like a kind of a much more, that's a lot riskier. Because what if that guy doesn't do well or stops,
It's easier when you're the lead dev because you control your own future, right? You make the decisions.
Right, exactly. So it's kind of hard for. I don't know. Maybe that's a question for other people.
I feel like that's a good question for Ark in a way.
Yeah, it's good for Horror TM too. He's full time too now, but they're not project leads. Ark could be one if he needed to be, but
yeah, he could be. Like if Ark, like I don't know, in some other universe where we don't work together. He could definitely just make his own games and be fine.
I think I don't know if I'd recommend if you were part of a team, if you were someone's builder or someone's 3D modeler, I don't know, graphic designer, I don't know, anything like that, or assistant scripter. I don't know if I'd unless you feel like you're confident in your own abilities. I wouldn't start doing full-time dev unless you know that your work like 100% is going to be consistent, or you're already working on like this game that's taken off, and your job is to make the new maps, and that's only your job. Then
if you have job security, then it's basically if you have job security for your work, you're fine. But if you don't, then don't take that risk.
Yeah. So
because just be responsible.
But it also depends what you mean by full time. When we're saying full time, we mean like we don't get a job anywhere else, we don't go to school, that kind of thing. If you just mean like full time, like all summer, you're gonna spend 40 hours a week doing it, go for it.
Oh yeah, go for it.
But I don't know exactly.
If you can afford not to get like a summer job one summer, or you have money saved up or something like that, then definitely like throw your all into trying to make it work. Because I don't know, you can make a front page game in the summer. Like it's very possible if you put in all the work for it.
Yeah, but we both kind of did all that here. Put it and say it out loud.
Astrovian asked, "What is the good games checklist?" And I'm gonna interpret that as the good games to make you a good dev.
Yeah.
And let's do 5, and we'll just go back and forth. And you can start.
5 each or 5 in total?
5 in total.
Well, but that's not fair. It would have to be 6 because then we only.
Fine, 5 each. 5 each.
5 each. Well, we'll do 6. We'll keep going until we give up. Okay. We've already talked about them all.
We'll go until we run out.
We've already talked about them all earlier in the podcast. This is a very game heavy podcast. Okay. Let's put Dark Souls 1 out, and if you can play it blind. Please do, because you're going to have a totally different experience if you're playing that game alone and not looking at guides. That's going to give you a lot of interesting feelings, and you're going to discover a lot of stuff about yourself and about game design if you do that.
Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door.
Ooh,
it's just like
good RPG.
That's just such a good RPG. It's fun the whole way through. It's super well paced. The world's cool. It's just a fun game.
Okay, and I'm gonna pull out another classic. We're gonna pull out Hollow Knight.
Hollow Knight. Yeah. Hollow Knight's so good.
Probably one of the best Metroidvanias and most modern ones that has the most, almost anyone can get into it, and also has a great difficulty curve and existence as well.
Actually, speaking of like difficulty in Hollow Knight, like people will consider that like a good show of like optional difficulty because you
Right.
can like you could choose not to upgrade your nail, right? And then you
Exactly.
would effectively be playing on hard mode.
And you can choose not to explore the whole map and find all this stuff that you need.
Dude, the game
Exactly.
can already be hard if you upgrade your nail. I don't know why somebody would
Challenge
intentionally
modes,
not.
or not using the right what are they called? Not trinkets, but shells or
Charms?
charms. Yeah, not using overpowered charms or using charms that make the game harder. People, there's all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah, people definitely enjoy that kind of stuff.
Optional difficulty. Dark
Challenge.
Souls 1 has that too, but it's a lot more hidden until you really think about it.
Oh, Dark Souls 1, my first ever run of the game, I didn't know you could upgrade weapons.
That's tough. That's really bad.
So I effectively played the game on a challenge on my first time through. I was like, dude, no wonder people say this game is hard. Like, why are these bosses' health bars so gigantic? I'd be like pumping strength on my like. I had a Dragon Tooth, Havel's giant like great hammer. I carried that around the whole game unupgraded.
That's funny.
Well, at least when I got it.
That's funny. Your turn. Pick an important game that people need to play.
You said Hollow Knight. Ooh. Shoot. Let me look at my Steam page really quick.
I'll go again. I'm picking. I have some good picks.
Ahead.
I'm gonna say Sekiro. Sekiro. People gotta.
Sekiro.
Yeah. People gotta learn how to.
That's a good one.
It's gonna teach people how to make good combat, basically.
Honestly, Devil May Cry 5. I really think that's like in terms of like designing for style and like sound design, I think that does it really well.
Let me think. And now I'm stuck too.
Can I do one more?
Yeah, go ahead.
So this is a weird one, but in terms of sound design and atmosphere, Amnesia: The Dark Descent, I think is done really well. At least for like horror games, right? It just like has really good tone, really good sound design. It makes you feel immersed in the world. And that's an older game now, and it still does it well.
Man, I wonder about. There's so many. This could be an incredibly long list, and it really depends on what game people are trying to make as well, right? For multiplayer Roblox games, I wonder what I could say. I don't know. That doesn't really matter, really, if it's multiplayer or not. I was gonna say Team Fortress 2, but no one can really get that experience anymore. But if you got the chance to play Team Fortress 2 back in the day when it was really alive, that teaches you a lot about how to maintain a community from a developer standpoint, how to like update games and make them hyped and fun, and also experience player interaction in like very unique ways. Even though it's like just an FPS, there's just so much in Team Fortress 2 that it's more than you'd expect. But too bad. I mean, you can still play it. It's filled with like bots and hackers now. But if you can maybe find someone on YouTube, have a retrospective or talk about what Team Fortress 2 used to be about, and you can try and get the idea from him. That's it. There's a lot in Team Fortress 2, man. That's a game I take a lot of. I wish I could make a game like Team Fortress 2.
Yeah, I mean, you made one a while back that it was like a Team Fortress medieval game. I remember that.
Oh yeah, I know. No, but I'm talking about like Team Fortress 2 had this thing where there's 9 classes in the game, and they're all unique, and they all have unique personalities, fully voice acted, and they all have crazy interactions. And the developers would take that and they'd do stuff. They have like a comic that came out like every couple months, and it was like featuring the characters. And because these were real characters, not just video game characters, they were like really fully fledged characters with like backgrounds and opinions and stuff. And it made these comics super interesting. And even though the lore was really wacky, it was just like players loved these characters. Even though, you might play the game and there's like 10 of one character and it doesn't make sense. Out of that context of the game, I don't know, just something about the world that was formed from such a simple game, such a wacky game. It formed like this lore and world that was just, it was weird. It was crazy. It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Did you want to add any more any more games to the list of good games to play as a developer checklist?
I didn't even think about it. Oh man.
Just think about it now.
Man, Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy is like such an underrated game.
It's like a combat
I
game,
don't
right?
know. Yeah, it's a Star Wars like combat game, and it has like oh no, okay, like Katana Zero is like actually an amazing game. Faster. Oh, okay, Faster Than Light and Katana Zero are two like games you gotta play.
Have I played FTL? I think I have. I gotta look at a screenshot of it.
Almost
No, I
certainly.
haven't. Yeah, I'm like, it's okay. Our lists are different. You haven't played the games some of the games I've played.
Right.
Man, what's another one? I'm just trying to think if there's one secret one that I don't remember. I'm looking at my Steam page, even though I know there's like some gameplay games that probably really what I want. But yeah, let's just put Pokemon on there. If you haven't played a Pokemon game, what are you doing, man?
Every Pokemon.
Not every Pokemon game, but
Not every, but everything up to like Diamond and Pearl.
right. Like if
I
you
feel
weren't,
like needs to be played.
but I mean, I haven't played the new games, so I can't really speak against them. But if you're gonna make a game in general, if Pokemon is really good at story into gameplay. At least the old games were story into gameplay, exploring the world, good RPG mechanics, kind of.
No,
Right?
no, that's that. Pokemon's an interesting one because the reason I don't like the new Pokemon games is I don't like the whole 3D aesthetic. Like I actually
I'm not a big fan of
really
it either.
dislike it.
We're big pixel art guys.
Yeah, but I think about that and I think about how like Roblox is moving away from like R6 and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like eventually R6 is going to be gone, and I think so at least.
Well, they'll never get rid of it, but
You think they'll never get rid of it?
no, I don't think they'll ever get rid of it. They'll get a lot of pushback from that. I mean, they always do, but and also, and there's still a lot of games that do it. If only the only thing I'd ever see is that maybe a lot of games are starting to use custom rigs and stuff once that
I think
becomes
custom
more
rigs are
available.
cool, and like I definitely want to do that at some point. I feel like once you move into R15 and custom rigs and those kinds of things, anything with like more joints than we have with an R6 rig,
Yeah.
you. I just realized like we moved off our original topic, but
That's okay. Next topic.
yeah, next topic. But that's our list back there. Basically, anything with anything past R6, I feel like having an animator is justified at that point.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, probably definitely. R6 is kind
Because-
of like the minimalistic style.
Yeah,
Still looks good.
it's pretty much anyone can animate R6, or any scripter should be able to. If you're not able to animate your own R6 stuff, then what are you doing?
I mean, I'm a little spoiled, but I used to play Team Fortress 2 a lot. Source Filmmaker was a thing that they released while I was playing that game, and it allows you to insert character models and animate them and place them stuff. So I learned a lot about how animation should look and work back then, and not a lot of people have those skills nowadays. So they should look at
I kind
animation
of learned to
classes.
animate from your animations personally.
Yeah, but there's like YouTube videos people can show you really basic animation fundamentals like key poses, etc., exaggerated poses, clear poses. There's so much stuff that goes into it that I think about when I animate, but I'm not sure if everybody does. And even though I don't think my animations are amazing, I can make really good ones if I try to. But I really go for clear, extreme animations when I make them, just so that they're easy to make and obvious to players. And what was I going to say about R6? This is my favorite thing about maybe R6, R15 a little bit, is clothing. If they got rid of R6, we'd lose clothing, like Roblox clothing, and it's such an easy way to texture characters. And anybody can look at a shirt file and understand what it looks like and how to animate or how to edit it and stuff. It's not like a huge texture or anything, and that would be lost on custom rigs. You'd have to really model.
Do custom rigs not support?
Well, I mean, you can throw textures on them, but they're not going to have clothing. I mean, like Arthro ones will kind of support a little bit of clothing, but if I made so the guy that's making what is it, Hajime Rising? I think he made new R6 models that use.
Wait, isn't that Craze?
Is it Craze? Craze works on the game. I'm not sure if he's the one that did it, but they use Vertex whatever, the meshes, the bendy meshes. He made them have bendy arms like we always wanted when we were kids. Roblox characters with bendy arms, right? Instead of R15 actually bendy arms. I think that's what they did, but because I saw it on a picture, and but I'm pretty sure that the reason all their clothing is now built, it's like all brick models and stuff, is because or mesh or something, is because they can't use Roblox clothing anymore. But maybe I'm wrong. But I know if you made your own custom R6 rig that was bendy, you'd have the textures wouldn't align correctly. So I mean, we'd lose that, which would suck. Because I love clothing. Roblox clothing looks cool, and there's a lot of great clothing makers. And I honestly wish they would increase the size of the textures so that we could have twice as detailed, or I guess 4 times as detailed clothing. If they upscaled the clothing image, which I think is only 256 pixels, if they upscaled that, then we'd have way
more detail.
Way more detail. And then also if they fix like compression or whatever too, so shirts and stuff are more detailed, we could have such crazy good looking stuff. Oh, and then if it supported, like if they could make it support like texture of what is it called, the lighting system where like stuff can be shiny or whatever. Oh man, that'd be like game changing.
That'd be awesome.
But I mean, I think they're stepping away from that stuff. So sadly.
Yeah, I'm trying to make clothing a little more interesting and like deep open stuff.
Yeah.
Like one outfit that I had my clothing designer make. We also had like the modeler make like a collar for it.
Exactly. That's like a really cool thing that I love when games do that, and I'm gonna try to do something with that for Crimson Moon too. I talked to Renji about it, but I don't remember what exactly was gonna match the clothing color, but something was. I don't remember what it was, but I'm definitely gonna do that too, because I think that always looks so cool and really adds a lot of depth to Roblox characters. That was a nice mini rant about R6. I don't know if there's any questions.
R6 is cool.
I
like R6.
I don't know if you wanted to check if there's any more topics that we can hit off on the Twitter page.
Oh yeah.
I'll check too.
Let me check.
A lot of these are also suggestions on who we should have on the podcast next, so you kind of got to look through them.
Who should we have on the podcast?
One of these. We'll do a poll. We'll have you do a poll on your Twitter, or I'll do a poll on my Twitter. We'll both do polls. Top rated people. People can throw in the comments of this video who they want as well. And we'll also have to reach out to people. So if there's any big developers listening to this, we might want you. Maybe. But maybe
Wait,
not.
what'd you say? Sorry, I
was saying if there's any big developers listening to this right now.
Oh yeah. I mean, like, we'd love to just have someone on and like talk to them about like game design in general. Even if like their opinion conflicts with ours, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Okay, let's
Your idea about server size.
Server?
This person basically asks, like, they're basically like getting into server size and like how big of a server should you have in games.
Oh man, that's like a complicated question.
For PvP games, as big as you can have it without compromising like the integrity of the combat. Like that's what I said. Like if you have like a giant open world, and it's PvP and stuff, big enough for it to be populated and not laggy, but also not so big that you can't go 5 feet without getting in a fight.
What's the question exactly? What's their exact question?
They worded it, your idea about server size in Deep Oaken, and then they go on like about server size in Rogue.
Oh, I'm not sure how to answer. Because I don't understand. I don't know what you've talked about before with server size.
I haven't really talked about it. What I just said like a second ago is like my opinion on it.
Oh, what server size should people go for? I thought you meant like give them an exact number.
Well, I mean, in a game like Deep Oaken, like it's a giant game with like a bunch of islands, right?
So so you're gonna have quite a bit of people, or it's gonna feel empty.
Exactly. And it's definitely been set up to be more optimized this time, so I can have more people and it doesn't just straight up lag.
That's right. I wonder,
which is nice.
If you're making a game similar to a game that already exists on Roblox, you should take a look at what their player counts are too. Because I used to do that when I was
Oh,
making
yeah.
certain games. I'm like, what is this game doing for player count? I'll try to hit something similar, um, just
If
to
you have really
make
precise
sure.
combat, what do you think?
Well, if we're talking about like adding more players, obviously usually adds more networking and more lag problems. Um,
Right.
so really precise combat, it depends. If it's a big world, obviously you want a lot. But if it's a small world and only like a combat focused game, like 20
Oh yeah.
people max.
Max.
If it was like a
Yeah.
fighting game, like you can even make it like 12 people or 10
Yeah.
or
10.
8. It
Yeah.
doesn't, you know. Um,
It doesn't have to be a lot because you're constantly
and that's
in the fight with
yeah, if
people.
it's totally like a super high reaction level game, you're gonna also want to have smaller servers so that people's networking or their server locations are next to each other, so they're not, the guy across the world isn't having super high ping fighting these guys that are right next to their house. You gotta, the
Yep.
smaller the server count, the more options for server locations come up on Roblox.
Really.
Yeah, well, because there's more servers.
Right. That's
That's why
true.
people have like, oh, this is like an EU server or whatever, right? It's because they started the server. And also, what Roblox will do, I'm not sure if you're aware of this. I am because I've done a lot of matchmaking. If you're, um, if you're really far away, like if you're in the EU, and you join a game that has, maybe it's not a full server, maybe it's only 5 out of 10 people, but they're all in the US. There's a chance that Roblox will make you your own server just because of
The distance.
yeah, just because of the distance.
I'd say that's a good thing.
Yeah, it seems to be,
For
but also it's
sure.
annoying when you do matchmaking and stuff. So
Mm. Man, we're living in 2020. Why?
I,
I just.
Roblox put in
Why is this still a thing?
Roblox put out a survey. They put a survey on the dev forum every now and then. I filled it out.
Mhm.
I remember like one of the things I was asking for because they asked what people wanted. I'm like, can you please give us better servers and server locations? And I said, I think me and a lot of other developers would be willing to pay an extra premium just for better servers. So
Oh,
hopefully,
for sure.
maybe that'll give them a ring in the bell. Maybe they'll get greedy and be like, oh, more money, sure, because I will pay for like amazing server. I'll pay for the highest tier servers, man.
Oh,
If
I
can
will.
pay for it too.
Yeah, the best servers I could pay for, I would
Yeah,
for sure. That's worth every fucking penny,
yeah,
dude.
easily. I would totally do that. Um, I don't know if I'd do it for my older games though, but I definitely do it for any new games or games that I currently maintain. I don't know. I have to think about it.
Imagine running a Roblox game with 30 ping.
Dude, imagine with 20, bro. Where the heck did you just go, man?
20?
Where did you just?
I fell into a laser and
You
died.
died. It looked like you went through a wall on my screen.
Dude,
Yeah, no, we need
30,
better servers.
20 ping in a Roblox game? That's like,
I mean, I don't know. I don't even know who hosts
that'd be
Roblox
insane.
servers. I don't know who does it. I think it's Amazon or something. But it's got to be. Even Roblox must know that their servers in general are awful because even their backend servers suck because Adopt Me ruins the website like once a month, right? Like, come on.
Mhm.
They've got to start realizing something's up, man.
Well, yeah, like Roblox is getting so much bigger. Maybe they'll actually start caring about it.
I hope so. I'd love
I
server
don't know. There's
options.
definitely like a disconnect between Roblox HQ and the devs, which
Yeah.
is kind of unfortunate.
Well, I
'cause,
don't know if I've talked about this previous podcast. I've talked to someone in DMs. I don't know if or maybe in a call I've talked to you about this before, or maybe we even talked about it on the last podcast and I'm dumb and I forgot. But the disconnect isn't actually between us and Roblox because Roblox has a whole team, the developer relations team, and their whole job
Yeah.
is to interact with developers, and they do a great job. The problem
Yeah,
is
they are. DevRel's cool.
DevRel's awesome and they do their job great.
Yeah.
And the problem is that it's not that we have a disconnect with DevRel. It's like the rest of the company has a disconnect with DevRel or something like that.
Yep.
Because like suggestions will go through DevRel and DevRel will be like, yeah, that's a great idea, let's do that, and then nothing ever happens. And it's not DevRel's fault. It's not like they drop it. Someone else decides that it's not a good idea or whatever.
I remember talking to DevRel about what was it? Premium payouts. Remember when like
Yeah,
those were first coming around and stuff? And
yeah,
they were talking to me about it, and they wanted like Rogue to be like kind of like a focus group for it, and I was like, oh, that's cool. So like, when do those get turned on? And they're like, oh, they don't for your game. And I'm
yeah.
like, what?
It's like a really
What?
weird, it's a disconnect within the company more than anything else. And I don't know. They'll fix that, I hope. because that's
I feel like they wanted me to make Rogue not paid access or something. Maybe maybe that's what they were hoping
couldn't
I'd go
do it.
for, and that was not an option.
Not a deal.
Imagine all.
I don't know what happened. I was talking to those the premium payout people, and you weren't there. Even though we were both at the office at the time, you weren't there. I don't know if you went home early or something, because it was literally just me, or maybe you were sick that day. I don't know what happened, but I was talking to these guys, and I was trying so hard. I was trying to give them all the reasons. I was trying to explain to them why, these games have to
remember
be paid access.
I talked to them about it, and they said we understand that exploiters are a huge issue, but it's not our decision, or it was like something like that.
Yeah, so there's some problems like that on Roblox's end. But the server one
worries me a bit though, because it makes me. I mean, like I don't think Roblox really likes paid access games.
Yeah, I mean,
they want all games to be free, and
that is something they want, but that's a bad move. And I know why they want it.
Awful move.
They want it because, they want more people on the site and more people able to play as many games as they want. Sure, that's a good idea.
Right.
But if you're trying to push yourself as a platform, it's an awful idea. Like, no one would go. Like, imagine if someone wanted to make a new game.
Imagine if all Steam games were free.
Well, not even that. They go to Unity and they're like, "Oh, you want to use Unity? Well, your game's got to be free." Like, it's like, what? No one wants that. And Roblox is supposed to focus. They're trying to focus themselves as a platform, so they should not restrict developers like that and force them, even with monetary incentives, to not do something, unless it's like bad practice. But
that's the thing. Premium payouts, like they're like, oh, we're gonna make it only for
open games.
Man,
it's like,
it makes me wonder, right? Because like you figure most people who play paid access games are usually going to be premium.
Exactly. They're going to be premium users because they're going to be older and they're going to spend a lot of time in them. So paid access is perfect for it, but they don't want to incentivize paid access. And also, which again doesn't make sense, because if they're trying to become a platform, they're trying to turn their engine into a platform, and they're trying to turn their website into a store, or at least they should, turning into like a Steam store kind of deal. And so if you do that, you should totally capitalize on paid access. You should make paid access. I already talked about this on Twitter recently. You should embrace paid access in a way where people can buy games for other people or gift other people things.
Oh yeah,
or
for sure.
Give out keys for your paid access game so people don't have to pay for it. Or you can already do sales kind of, but if there was a way to opt in for a big sale on the website, that'd be awesome. That kind of thing.
But they're not embracing it. A really good point about paid access though is that it's usually older people, right?
Right.
Like that's one of like the most important things about paid access for me, not just exploiters, is that like random kids don't just hop on the game and
dislike it because it's hard.
Dislike it because it's hard. But that I think that's why word of mouth has been really strong for Rogue, because like people play the game, because a lot of people won't buy a paid access game. Like, just that they know nothing about. And that makes sense. You wouldn't pay for something you know nothing about. And Roblox doesn't have things like trial periods and stuff like that.
Yeah, which sucks.
So, like, paid access games that get popular are usually popular because, like, someone tells their friend, oh, it's actually really fun, you should buy it. And then, a bunch of people buy it. And that's where, like, what you said about being able to buy friends' paid access comes in. And that'd be great.
I was actually brainstorming, like, I was sleepless the night I posted that, brainstorming how can I do it. And, we can do Game Pass paid access where you buy a Game Pass to get into a game. But that still lets random people join and dislike because they got kicked because they don't own something they have to pay for. And
that happened with Rogue initially, too.
Yeah, the risk with getting dislike bombed by people that don't understand or don't care to understand is way too high.
And getting dislike bombed is ultimately pretty bad for your game. Like, here's the thing. Like, at the end of the day, like, some dislikes isn't that bad. Your game's going to get dislikes. And if your game is bad, it should get disliked, right? But, like, if your game is like a 60% dislike to 40% likes, but those 60% dislikes are because people don't understand like how to get access to your game, then like it just sucks because now your game looks like garbage, even though it might be awesome.
You can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Also, but anyways, the alternative to helping with paid access people that want to play the game, we only have 30-second trailers of games that you can post on. That kind of sucks. If you could post longer trailers and stuff, then more people would know what they're getting. And then also demos is an option as well, which is something I plan to do for my next game, is to add the demo version, right? Maybe it's a level or something like that. I know you were talking about
See,
doing that, but it
I've
seems like
considered demos,
it
but
seems
it's
complex for
weird.
yours. It's hard for yours, right?
Yeah,
Because
because it's hard to get into the meat of everything.
right.
And plus, like a big part of like my games is like the emergent gameplay that comes from PvP interaction. So
Yeah.
it's like if you have a demo place where you can't fight anybody, then
I mean,
like
you could.
half the point is
You
lost.
know what you could do? Well, maybe you're. I don't know if it'd be a good idea, but you could make your demo place just a fighting arena. Like, oh, here's the combat demo or something like that. I don't know.
Sure.
Yours is pretty complex too because like if you did a normal
I
demo,
mean,
they like got a bunch of items because you got to go get stuff in your game like ingredients, and then you you got all this nice stuff, and now you play the real game, and all your stuff you got to start over. You know,
it's gone.
it's like oh, I meant
I
oh,
mean,
you
could
know?
take the Dark Souls approach. Just like have like a boss fight or whatever, or like have like a simple like area with enemies, and it's like a one-player server, and then you like fight those, and you can like kind of get a grip on the combat. Then you fight the boss.
I know what I'm gonna do for Crimson Moon's demo is gonna be like the equivalent of
Wait,
the
I ran back to the start. Damn.
is the equivalent as the of the Dark Souls 3 and Dark Souls remastered network test where it's just one level and you can only choose like from a preset
Hmm.
characters because I think that would work for a demo very well. You know, let people play
Uh,
through one level with some already a later level, not an early level, and just kind of see what they're
I
gonna get
wonder
into.
if that's actually an option for Deepwoken is like a network stress test to see what happens. Like make literally for like one time make the game public access. Don't make it paid access and then close it because that's scamming. But
Mhm.
where the hell am I going?
Right.
What is this
Left.
map, dude? Okay. Anyways, oh, I should have taken a left up there. Anyways, so maybe like making Deepwoken like public access temporarily and then making it paid like
Well, I
afterwards.
didn't mean actually
Like,
network test. I meant like my demo is going to be the equivalent of what the network test was.
okay.
Like when you play the demo, it's going to be like the network test was.
Mine was more geared towards like is stress testing like actually like a good idea for
I think so.
like because Deepwoken on release there's gonna be some more unforeseen bug like
Right.
that. There's no way we could have known about it. So like maybe like a public stress test is actually like a good idea.
It'd be cool if you could do something less extreme than a public stress test, right? Like
Yeah.
but there
Like maybe like a closed community wave where a bunch of people get in and they test it.
yeah, but like but more than that though, right? I don't know. I can't tell you what
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
know, I
but
know.
something in between those two would be great.
For sure.
Some kind of way to do it. You'd have to brainstorm about it. But man, I wish.
Man.
Anyways, Roblox should embrace paid access more. Dang man, it's really tragic that they don't like it.
Paid access, it's a good thing. And you can design games with paid access in a way that are like I don't know, less monetization in your game because
That's what
you
I'm
pay for it
doing.
up front.
I plan at
Yeah.
least to as far as I know right now. When I do Crimson Moon, which is like mainly, I'm gonna explain it real quick just for everyone listening that might not know what it is, but it's like a Dark Souls game where it's mainly single player and you're going through. Well, not mainly single player, mainly like a I don't know what to say it. Well, like you progress through the world, like you're going through, like you're exploring the world and you're
Careful.
beating. What do you mean careful?
Dude, last time I said Deepwoken has PvE in it, and people said, "Yeah, Deepwoken doesn't have any PvP like Rogue," and I'm like,
Yeah, no,
oh,
that's why I went
why
back
do
on
people
single player.
think that?
It's not a single player game. That's not what I mean. Well, but it is, but it's not. I mean like a solo. No, what the heck do I mean? It's like a real game. It's not like a multiplayer game where it's. Oh my god,
it's not
I
a
can't
constant
describe it.
open. Oh, if you know what Dark Souls invasions are,
Yeah,
like,
it has
you have
PvP
that.
and it has playing with other players. It's the main focus of the game. But I'm trying to explain that the game is like you move through, you beat a world and you go to the next one, kind of right. There, you beat
You know what
parts of the
feature
world.
that
There you go.
Snake?
What?
You know what feature that game's gonna have that Dark Souls never had, and I wish it had?
What?
When you go to join your friend to like help them beat the game, right?
Yeah.
You don't get booted out of the world.
Yeah,
after
you don't
every
get beat out of the
fucking
world.
boss
Yeah.
fight.
In my game, the worlds are consistent. Like you join someone's world
Yeah.
and you beat someone's boss, and then you both have that boss.
You
beaten.
get to keep going.
Yeah.
I hated that shit, dude.
Why was I bringing this up? Why was I talking about Crimson
You couldn't
Moon?
go to your friend's bonfires.
What was I talking about Crimson Moon for? What started this awful rant of mine that I'm now
Oh
stuck on?
fuck. Pay.
It had something with paid access, maybe. Oh, monetization. Okay, so yeah, because my game is made like mine's supposed to be like a real game where you're like completing it and beating it and going through it and stuff. So the only monetization for it was going to be paid access and maybe paid DLC. If if the game does well, I'll make DLC features for it that then cost additional money to play more content. Not like I'm not planning to do microtransactions for money or like anything like that. Hey everyone, this is Future Snake. This turned into a really long rant that was about 30 minutes long. That's probably deserving of maybe its own podcast episode or something in the future. So we decided to cut it out, and instead we decided to talk about combat and went to ABA. So that's why this transition is really weird.
And now we're at ABA.
Yeah, we want to talk about combat. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I thought we could, because we're kind of like known for our combats in our games and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You especially. And I guess like Rogue's popular for its combat and stuff now too. But Rogue's actually, in my opinion, like flawed combat. There's like a lot of problems with it that I tried to alleviate in Deep Open. But I thought like ABA was like a great example of like
a lot of combat systems
as a concept.
Yeah, but the thing about ABA is a lot of the good combat stuff doesn't come from the base combat.
Comes from the moves.
It comes from the moves that are balanced in certain ways. Yeah.
But that's okay. I mean, that's what it's made for. Yeah. Obviously, with like this combat, you have the 5-hit combo, and the last hit's a guard break, right?
Right.
So last hit's a guard break, and it's 5-hit combo, and it all chains together. And like a little thing that ABA does that I think like more devs could like probably add in like if they're maybe not in an RPG game, but in a combat-based game is if you just hold M1, it keeps going.
To swing. Yeah.
I think that's.
I always add that to my games, man. I hate having to switch bam click, and I'm not even sure a lot of people even know that exists.
Yeah, and that like having to click, if your game has any sort of like I don't know, like blocking, like out of stun, like keep blocking or whatever, then sometimes you'll just drop a combo because you're like try and hold F out of this.
Okay, because you won't click fast enough.
Because you don't click fast enough.
Yeah, that's a big problem. And then also I'm a big hater on non-queued inputs for blocks where you have to, some games it's okay because then blocking becomes like a timing game and you have to recognize animations. Yeah. But like, if you were like here, like attack me, I guess. If I had to like press F like every single time, I couldn't just hold it to like do the same thing where I can't just hold F to force it to come out. It doesn't feel very. It feels bad. It feels like you can't, and it's impossible or it's really hard to learn those timings too. So if you have a game that,
and that's the thing in Rogue. That's the thing is
I know Rogue doesn't have that.
That's back when I didn't even know how to do
input queuing on
input
blocking.
Queuing. Yeah, and it became such a part of the game that it was like at that point it wasn't worth doing.
Yeah.
Unless I think maybe Ark made a change recently where he added that, but I'm not sure. But I also wanted to go over things that I
was just gonna say it makes balancing more fair because it's like you can guarantee that certain moves are combo together a certain way, like 100% they will if everyone's inputs are queued correctly, right? So
true. I also wanted to go over like some things that devs like I don't think they know like the terminology for like plus on hit or like negative on hit.
Plus,
and
negative, and neutral. I mean, I can feel it with Dio now that we have Dio. Dio has Absorb, which is a neutral move that people got like really complain about, but I don't care because I like Dio. But if I use this move on you, we're both like hold block.
Did you? Yeah, I tried to like click out of that. I tried to click out of that in that instance.
Well, we'll let it begin.
Go ahead.
On Absorb, it's neutral, which means that when the move ends, we're both at an equal state. So if he holds F, he'll block my move, or if he attacks, we'll attack at like the same time. No one has the advantage at the end of it. So here, see how he blocked that? That's because it's neutral, which means he had the chance to get out of it, but it wasn't negative. If it was negative, it'd give him the opportunity to hit me first or do something first.
Aren't punches negative on block in ABA? So like try and combo me.
Maybe, but good. Yeah, no, maybe not. I don't know. It depends on.
Maybe they're
really
positive.
fast.
Maybe they're positive.
But yeah, positive is if you're hitting blocks is a great way to explain it because if I'm hitting something and it's negative, then
here,
if he blocks,
I'll do something.
Do you have a move that's negative or positive?
I think pistol.
That's negative. Yeah, if it smacks me, well, it pushes me back.
Oh, but it pushes you back.
Well,
so
okay,
even though it is negative.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I can throw knives.
But
at
in
you
this
if you do it
case,
again.
you can't punish with an M1, but you can punish with your knife. So
Yeah.
well, I'm ready.
Wow.
Oh,
Knives have startup
no,
though.
it's
Knives
neutral.
have startup.
Knives have startup, so while it is negative, that's not fast enough to punish
Yeah.
it. And that's where frame data in fighting games comes into play. It's like something may be negative on block or whatever, and like a lot of things like kind of are, but you may not have something fast enough to punish it.
So there's terms like negative on block means if they block your move that they have the advantage in timing. They can attack faster sooner. But if it's positive on block, that means you can continue to harass their block. Or if it's positive on hit, that means if you hit them and they didn't block, you can continue to keep hitting them, which are, most like a normal M1 combo. This is positive on hit because I can keep on comboing into him and he can't do anything about it.
I think Gatling is positive on block, so like try and like attack out of it.
Wait, on block?
Yeah,
Positive
on block.
Oh, like
I'm
I can't
pretty
do
sure
it.
it's
I can't do
positive.
anything about it because it's like a constant attacking move though.
Yeah, and then I'm pretty sure I can follow up by attacking immediately. And
Oh
you
yeah.
can't,
Okay.
like,
Wait. What do you want? What do you want me to do? Swing out of it? Okay.
just try and swing out of it as soon as it ends.
Oh, okay. Start smacking.
All right, ready? Go ahead and block.
Did you want me to let go and start?
Yeah,
swinging? Yeah.
and
So you
then,
know
like,
what?
try and
Yeah,
punish.
you have
Yeah,
the
yeah.
advantage. So once that ends, it's the same thing with stand rush. If I'm like
Yeah, 'cause
smacking a
that's no
stand
end
rush,
lag.
you can't capitalize on it. I have
Yep.
yeah. So end lag is another term. That's how long after a move is used or an ability is used before you can attack again. So if you're talking about mainly yourself, end lag. Yeah.
Yeah. So Bazooka has like what, like 0.4 seconds of end lag. Like it's something
it's
pretty
between,
small.
that's where most things are, and most of
Yeah.
my stun times in ABA are all usually the same of 0.5 seconds, and so basically you adjust the moves ending to be based off that. Like if you hit someone and you know it's gonna stun them for 0.5 seconds because your stun system uses 0.5 seconds, if you make the move have a 0.4 second cooldown before they can do anything else, then that move's positive.
Yeah.
But just barely.
I think devs also end up like making windups on things either way too short or way too long. Like 1 second is such a long time. Like,
That's an
I
incredibly
don't
long
think,
time in coding. I think knife throw.
I feel like
my Dio's knife
scripters
throw-
realize that.
Here, block. This is a decent wind up. It has a sound, it has a very clear animation, and the projectiles travel. So that I think is a fair wind up. But your move bazooka is kind of like maybe a little long for his wind up.
But it's a block break.
But it is a
so
guard
it
break,
makes
right?
sense.
So they have time to do something about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The reason that guard breaks have to have a little bit longer wind up is because when people see them move, they might instinctively block, but then they have to have the time to realize that it's a block and get out of there. Right.
Yeah.
So I let go of F there. You didn't guard break me. I just died because it hit me. So
Because yeah. And then you have like rocket or whatever, which is like almost instant startup, right?
Yeah, if you're
But-
close next to me. Yeah.
Well, if I'm at long range, yeah, it's even easier to react to. But here, just try and react to it,
I can.
and you can still react to it. Like, well, that's probably like 0.2 or 0.3 or something like that.
Well, that's based
It's
on
pretty
travel time
short.
too, though.
Yeah. So if I did it right here, maybe
I don't
you
think
actually
I
don't
could.
react to it at
If
all.
you have it again, I don't think I can because that's a distance-based thing. Yeah, so there's no way I can react to it up close because it's a traveling move, like projectile almost.
Yeah, so having things like being aware when you're designing combat of like how long your stuns are, what end lag,
Yeah,
things
who
that are
has the
positive, negative on hit and
advantage?
block.
Who has the advantage on block or on hit?
And a way I like to design moves or like moves in games is like I'll design like 2 or 3 moves at once, or like I'll write them down and like design them all to work together. So it's like
That's a
you
good
have
idea.
like cool setups and like combos for stuff, like because Luffy stuff all kind of works together. So you like M1 and then go for this, and then maybe you follow up with that.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
or-
you can
or-
actually straight into your M1 there.
Yeah, you can get. There's a lot of things like that in ABA where you can just move into certain moves, and then mix-ups. That's a good thing we should bring up. Too bad we're both low on health. Dio has a mix-up because of his absorb. I don't know. I hope this won't kill you, but here, do the block out of the absorb again. My mix-up is I can use my Well, you died because it's so fast. But if that was a guard, it's a guard break move and it's instantaneous. So my mix-up is that if he tried to block out of that or block after it, then I'll immediately guard break him. But I don't
But
know.
if I don't block because I think you're gonna do it, you could stand rush.
Then I can use something else instead. Let me try it again. Here, just block.
Okay.
And so he blocked instead of, because he didn't know if I was going to block or if I was going to use a different move. So that's like a mix-up where, and that's like an important feature that fighting games need, really, is that, if they're blocking, how can you try to make them not predict what your next move is going to be. And that's what a mix-up really is do something that there's a 50-50 shot, or, depending on what kind of moves you have, of what the person's going to do next.
And that's what we're kind of implementing in our newer games is like feinting and stuff, because that's like
feinting is
a built-in mix-up.
Yeah, but it's a mix-up that hits. It doesn't do direct damage. It just puts you in a better position.
And also, I feel like it's a mix-up that anybody can understand when they're playing. Like, they understand, like, if I swing and I feint, I'll bait out.
Yeah, it's a different kind of mix-up because it's trying to force your opponent to do something that puts them in a state of being disadvantaged instead of doing direct damage to them.
Yeah, but that was just a short little segment that I wanted to go over on combat and stuff.
Combat improvement.
I feel like people would be interested in it. And that puts us at about
somewhere close to
hour and 20.
I hope so, yeah. So, yeah, there we go. That's good.
Like that. Or like an hour and 10. I
don't know. We're good. It's over an hour, so that's good.
Longer
podcast.
That was a good one. I like that.
Oh, are we done?
But yeah, I think that about wraps everything up. It was cool doing this, and hope y'all enjoyed it.
Yep. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.